JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Friday, February 7th, 324. Sorry about the delay there. Just watching Teledoc, and I wanted to get out some more before the close. I'll talk really quick about the market, some names I'm looking at, go from there. S&P, disappointing Friday once again. Just when it looked like, hey, we could finish strong. Markets were near highs early in the morning, about 10 o'clock. And then first it was the consumer sentiment, right? Michigan consumer came in much worse than expectations. Supposedly that's the bellwether of the economy, right? The consumer, 65% or whatever GDP is derived from consumers, right? Uh, who knows with that? I mean, it's funny. It's like everything's headline driven. So the whole every couple minutes on any news broadcast you watch is about egg prices, right? I mean, ah, so it has to, and at some point it has to have an impact. But anyway, and then as the day progressed, it was about the tariffs, and I wasn't gonna be. I said it earlier this week. There's going to be tariffs on Europe, or at least conversation or headline, 10%, 15, 20%, whatever it is. It's going to happen on EU, which is, and then on the UK. It's just a matter of when and what are the details, and then things will get worked out. And the Eurozone, EU already mentioned about reducing U.S. tariffs on cars. So it's like always a whirlwind, the headlines, and then unfortunately you see the market move, and I'm like, is it because of another headline? Is it just the market pulling from resistance? Is there whatever it is? But yields are going up, a dollar stronger today. Oil and gold are up, so it's kind of like, I guess you take this scenario. If you said at the start of the week, Sunday overnight when the futures were getting demolished, you said, hey, the SPY's is going to be down less than 1% this week. I guess you would take it, right? So the unfortunate thing is we're right here at the 600 handle on the SPY, which is like a big area. It's kept gapping. It's the last 2 Mondays we've gapped below it, so it hasn't had a chance to get support intraday and see if it can hold there. So I'm hoping we hold here today, and there's no gap below it on Monday. And then you start looking at the chart and the SPY, and then you start looking and say, okay, is this lower highs and lower lows? Now you start looking at the last couple of weeks, and just over the last 3 weeks, you could say lower highs, lower lows, and that's. Eh, I'm not putting my bear suit on whatsoever. I just things of caution, and then other things. You take a look today, and it's not even today, but the Mag 7 are driving are all getting punished today. And Amazon reported again, wasn't that great? Wasn't that bad a result? Microsoft, I thought it was great numbers that sold off. Google, great numbers sold off on their just a little slowdown in their cloud business, AWS, and the capex spending. I, I mean, they drove the market gains, right? A majority of them. That was the big narrative for the bears, saying, "Oh my gosh, markets only getting driven higher by a select basket of stocks, which would be the Magnificent Seven." And now they're going down. Markets are, they're kind of holding up, I guess you would say. So, and rotation's always good for the market. So, is this a rotation? You see, so it's been a rotation to AI names, the chip names, quantum names were on the tear. Uh, So anyway, but interesting chart there. And you take a look, the move up in Meta since January, I think it was January 10th is the day that Zuckerberg went on the Joe Rogan podcast for 2.5 hours. And all of a sudden, like magic. But that stock was going up to start the year anyway. So that's overall markets. Why do I have TripAdvisor in the top? I don't know why I have that up there. Maybe I mistyped, and then maybe I was trying to get a chart. All right, so now individual names. So first, just quick about. So next week, a lot of earnings. Um, Coin, Datadog, Twilio, DraftKings. I'm trying to get the whole list. There's a lot of others. Of course, the one that I'm looking at is Roku, and I'll talk about in a second. All right, so now individual names. First, Teladoc, and Citron Research came out with another tweet about 9:45 this morning, just when it looked like maybe the stock had kind of lost its mojo a little bit, and then that kicked it up by 10 o'clock. It was at 13:24. Um, I didn't want to be in a spot. I was mentioned on the rant yesterday, this morning. I don't want to be in spot. There's no. My February strikes don't encompass earnings. They kind of came back to life too. So maybe an analyst comes and downgrades it or takes out some of the premiums. So I didn't want to be in a spot where I lose the profit. So I locked the rest of my February strikes in, and then I still have the Marches. And then as it heads higher, I was actually trying to get out at 90 cents. And that took me a little while to get onto to the audio because I'm trying to make sure I can get some more out before the close. And then I was able to get some more out for a little over 200%. So now I'll ride free on the marches. I don't know if I'll add more, maybe over 14 next week if it has continuation. Because again, there's gap fills. Gap fill at 2049. I'm not saying it gets up to 2049, but I've seen crazier things. And then you look at the fundamentals, how much it trades on a I think it's less than 1 times revenues. You have that partnership with Amazon. Is Amazon someone going to come in and do some kind of acquisition? So that's Teladoc. Great trade this week. Finally, thankfully got the calls, came back to life, and that's that. Stratus is taking a breather today. Still has a bull flag set up, down 3%. Not surprised. Actually, it's a little less than 3% right now. Holding 1250. I mean, still up 40% for the week. Still like this into in the coming weeks, and then 14, just like Teladoc. I think it gets over 14, it's heading much higher. And then TripAdvisor, Trips at 1830 right now. That's its highest level since the summer. Obviously, Expedia being the catalyst today, I don't think it needs much more of a catalyst. I'm still trying to look at, unfortunately, it looks like the March strike premiums, well, they're in the money now, so that helps, but those premiums are going up a lot faster than the Junes because I'm kind of, I want to almost get the Junes, lock those in, and maybe go for some lower strikes, closer dated, maybe some March. So don't be surprised. I was looking today, maybe I'll just wait till next week. But great sign here. I was talking about the bull flag on TripAdvisor. You look from 14 to 1750. That's 350 divided in half, $1.75. Now you're looking at 1925 plus, and that's only $1 away. So I wouldn't be surprised if it hit that. And then one trade I did make into next week, and maybe my timing could have been a little better, but Arista Networks, that the CapEx spend story, I mean, it's going to be everywhere over the weekend, especially now Google's on board, and they've always been on board, especially the last couple of years. But in regards to $100 billion, you have Meta, $75 billion, Microsoft, all these companies are spend, and that spend goes into names a part of the infrastructure. And Arista Networks is one of those. That's why you see Broadcom going. So really like this one to next week. And then you look at that gap from the previous Monday, the DeepSeek Monday, I guess you would call it. And I mean, there's huge opportunity here. And the last piece of the Arista story is they report earnings the following week. So as much as I would like to get calls for the monthlies, the February 21st, the premiums are too expensive for me on a risk reward basis. So I went and got next week's, but it's been a great trader for the last week or so after it's dipped from DeepSeek, and I think it will continue to be. And then last but not least, here's Roku. And for the first time in a long time, Roku's actually holding the gains for the day. Knock on wood. I mean, we still have 28 minutes left in the session, but my 110s are back to pretty much green. I mean, I could sell for a small profit if I want to, but I'm going to hold them into next week. Some continuation would be great. I think it's 86.75 is the December highs. It can break through that. Maybe can get some premium build into earnings next Thursday. If that happens, I'll look to take some off and ride the rest. Another article this morning, I guess that Market Watch has. I was trying to find it. It just comes up on one of my streams. The M&A boom of 2025 is just getting started, and they list 5 names for buyout interest or buyout names for 2025, and Roku is one of them. So just another article piece that talks about the potential of an M&A buyout. And you look at a name like Roku, companies that get bought out, right? Biotech names, you get bought out on future or potential, right? And then some get bought out because they're way undervalued. And sometimes that's in the biotech world as too. But I think Roku has both of best world. I think it's undervalued, and I think there's future growth potential, especially as they start to go into the green in regards to profits and driving high margins, things like that. So that's my rant. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. SSYS, Trip, Peloton. Disappointing yesterday, and then it's I talk about some of the analogies, and you make some synergy between Netflix is the king of content, right? And then you look at Spotify is the king of like audio streaming, whatever, and Peloton's like the king of fitness. I've used this analogy a lot with Yelp when I used to be very bullish Yelp, and Yelp unfortunately has been stuck in a rut for a while, but still up there. It has their moat for Pelotons, their instructors and the content that they've created with those instructors. Some of those instructors are like stars. If you follow Peloton, I mean, my wife is very big too, so I can speak a lot to it. But it's to me, and then you look at some of the folks, rumors of Apple, and then it's just, I mean, they're connected, their content revenues up like 50%, new leadership from Nike. There's just a lot of things to like, and I'm just surprised it didn't take off yesterday as much as it should have, and it's down here this morning. One of these days it gets a kick. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe it's an M&A rumor or what have you, but I think it'll be off to the races. And that's it, folks. Have a great day. I'll be back later. Rock and roll.